If you talk to someone who works for or someone who volunteers for the American Cancer Society and you ask them, why do you do what you do? I can pretty much guarantee you what their answer will be. To provide hope. Hope to those that have the disease, and hope that those who don't will never hear the words, "You have cancer." This session is going to be about entering those dollars that bring hope into EMT, dollars that come in through your Relay for Life event. This is a detailed look at how to add those donor dollars into EMT. But how do donations come into a relay? Well, they can be given in the name of an individual or individuals on a team. For example, if you have a good friend who's participating in a Relay for Life event and you want to give $10 donation, you can give it to them and it gets credited to them. It goes on their fundraising record as an individual. Donations can also be given in the name of a team. You have a group of friends from work who are pulling together a team for a relay. You want to give a donation. You don't want to give it to any one individual, so you can give it and credit it to the entire team. Donations also can be given to the event. So if someone makes a donation and they really don't have anyone in particular they want to credit it to, whether it's an individual or a team, that money is credited to the event. EMT is going to help us keep track of these dollars. But why is it important? Why do we need to keep track of our money? Well, obviously, accounting is really important, but there are other reasons also. For individuals, they want to know where they are if they're going to reach their fundraising goals. There are incentives they may want to reach. We love the fact that those who participate in Relay get a little bit competitive, and they want to beat somebody else out to the next incentive level. Or maybe they want that really nice sweatshirt that they get for earning a certain amount in terms of dollars. It's really important to be able to tell them where they are, where they stand, and they're reaching their goal. EMT is going to keep track of donations for teams. Teams, just like individuals, have certain levels of recognition they can reach depending on how many donations they bring in. Teams are very competitive. They want to know where they stand. They want to be ready when it comes time to the event if they need that extra $10 to be able to get it. So EMT is going to keep track of that. And it's really important to keep track of everything for the event because as a staff partner or as volunteers who are working on a relay, you know that you've set this goal for this event, and there's nothing more you want than to reach and surpass that goal. So it's really important to know where you stand in that relay, and EMT is going to be able to give you that information because you're going to put the data in. It's going to give you wonderful reports out. Who gives the donations? We've talked a little bit about who gets credit. Well, friends and family members can give donations to team members or to teams. Businesses can sponsor the event. People can donate money for Luminaria to honor or remember someone with cancer. Teams can do fundraisers. EMT can track how each dollar is given and who gets credit for it. Very important. How it's given and who gets credit. Now let's take a look in EMT itself to see how this money is tracked. Before we actually go into EMT, I also want to remind you that you have a guide which will also give you step-by-step instructions about some of the things we're going to talk about today and some of the things we're going to look at. For instance, if you go into the guide, you'll see that there's a whole section on adding revenue. And we're now going to talk about this section, adding revenue to teams. So after you've looked at the session today, you can go back and before you actually enter any data into EMT, you can go back, pull out your user's guide, and follow these step-by-step instructions as well as a good reminder of what we've talked about today. First, let's take a look at how team fundraising dollars are entered. We're going to go into EMT and we're going to take a look at a team called Banking on a Cure. And they brought in money several different ways on bank night. The first way we're going to look at is entering $500 that they brought in for holding a car wash. So here we are in your event in EMT. We want to enter that $500 for banking on a cure that they brought in at bank night for that car wash. So to do that, we're going to go to the Teams screen. We're going to click on Teams. And then we're going to look for banking on a cure, and there they are. And this is where we're going to go ahead and enter the money. So we're going to see where it says add dollars. So here we are, banking on a cure. We're going to add $500. So I'm going to put in 500 right here. And then revenue source. Let's look at this drop down. This is where we're going to say how this money really was brought in. So was it brought in through a bake sale, Coaches versus Cancer? And remember we said this was a car wash. So we're going to choose car wash. You want to be as specific as possible here. You want to find whatever it is that this team did so that you can keep track of it, because that's going to be important information for you later. The next thing you want to enter is the revenue location. These are some options that you have here: bank night, day of event, they brought it to the office, post event, team captain meeting. Remember we said this was bank night, so we're going to go ahead and choose bank night. So we've entered $500, revenue source, car wash, revenue location, bank night. Now we're going to go ahead down here and we're going to click team update. And that's going to save that information, and it's going to credit that $500 to banking on a cure for their car wash. So we went into EMT and we took a look at how to enter that $500 that banking on a cure brought in at bank night for the car wash. They also brought in another type of donation. They had collected $350 for Luminaria. Let's go into EMT and see how that's entered. There's a little bit more involved with entering Luminaria than there was with that $500 for the car wash. Let's take a look. Now we're going to take a look at how we're going to enter that $300 for Luminaria that they brought to bank night. So we're going to come to banking on a cure. Remember we did that on the team page. We're going to come over here. We're going to add $300 under add dollars. Revenue source, Luminaria. And you'll notice as soon as I choose that, it says luminary quantity. I'm going to put in that there are 3. I'm going to go ahead and save and close. Our revenue location, remember, was bank night. And then there's one more step. So I'm going to slide over, and you'll see that the last column is comment. I'm going to go ahead and click on this comment. And here's where I'm going to list the names of the people for whom these luminaria were donated. So we have Lori Bradley, Sarah Riley, and Duncan Bradley. Once I have those names in there, I'm going to save and close, and that's only saving the comments. Now I'm going to double check. Yes, $300 Luminaria Bank Night. Now I can go to Team Update, click on that, and it's going to save that donation of $300 for the Luminaria they brought in at Bank Night. The last donation we're going to take a look at in EMT for banking on a cure that they brought in this particular bank night is a little bit more involved. And that's a $1,000 sponsorship from Summer's Fashion Boutique. Now when we go into EMT, you're going to see that Summer's Fashion Boutique has already been entered as a sponsor. I'll show you where that is on the sponsorship screen. What I'm going to show you mainly here, though, is how we're going to make sure that that $1,000 that was entered for Summer's Fashion Boutique is credited to the team banking on a cure. Let's go into EMT and see what I'm talking about. Now we're going to take a look at that donation they brought in at bank night for the sponsorship. So first let's go to the sponsors page, and I'm going to show you that I've already gone ahead and entered Summer's Fashion Boutique. And you'll see here it is. If I click on this, you'll see Summer Bradley, $1,000. And let me click on this again so we can see more details about this particular donation. And again, if this wouldn't already be entered, you'd have to enter this information. Now, there's going to be another whole session on how to enter sponsors, how to set them up, and then how to go ahead and enter their donations. But let me just show you this quickly. Here's the $1,000, but you'll notice it's not credited toward any team or participant. What I want to show you now, back on the Teams page, is how we're going to credit that to Banking on a Cure. So we're now back on the Teams page. We are on Banking on a Cure. I'm going to put $1,000 here. The revenue source is going to be sponsorship. And you'll notice a star comes up. We're going to click on that star because this is how we're going to make that connection. I'm going to click here on the drop down and you'll see it brings up Summer Bradley. I'm going to go ahead and save and close because now I've linked this $1,000 to that $1,000 on the sponsorship page. Okay, what was the revenue location? Bank night. So I'm going to go ahead and click here on Team Update to save that information. Once I do that and it's saved, we're going to go back and we're going to take a look on sponsors again. And now we're going to open Summer Bradley's sponsorship. And once this opens, and sometimes you'll notice it runs a little slower than others. Now if you look, it is credited to Banking on a Cure. So that's how we credit that $1,000 sponsorship that was given for Summer's Fashion Boutique to Team Banking on a Cure. We've looked at how a variety of revenue can be entered for teams. Now let's take a look and see how we would do the same thing, but for individuals. Again, in the user's guide, you can go in and find a section called Adding Revenue to Individuals, and it's going to show you everything step by step that we're going to cover now when we look into EMT. So you're going to learn today in this session, and then you can use the user's guide as a review when you're actually entering your data. For our donations from individuals, we're going to still stick with the team Banking on a Cure, but we're going to look at individuals on that team. So these donations are getting credited to individuals, not to the team. The first one we're going to take a look at is Erin Culp, who brought in to the office $150 that she had donated at a bake sale that she did. So let's go into EMT and take a look and see how we would enter that donation. So how do we find these individuals? Well, first we're going to go in. We know that they're on Banking for Your Cure, so we're going to come in and we're going to go to Teams. And now we're going to click on Banking on a Cure. And once we do that, it's going to bring up all the members of the team at the bottom of the screen. And remember we said that this donation was from Erin Culp, so there's Erin. So just like before, we come to add dollars. We're going to go right on Erin's line. It was $150. The revenue source, remember we said Erin had a bake sale, so I'm going to choose bake sale. And revenue location, Erin brought that into the office, so I'm going to go ahead and choose office. And that's all we have to do. Then we're going to do team member update. Once we do that, it's going to save that $150 to Erin Culp and credit her with that. And we're going to know later on that she did that by having a bake sale. So that's how we enter our first donation. We just put in Erin's donation for the $150. Now let's do another one. We have Kristen Becker, who brought in $50 for Luminaria donation, and she brought this in at bank night. Let's take a look at how we do that. So we're still on our Teams page now, and we're going to find Kristen Becker. So we know she's on Banking on a Cure. I'm going to click on Banking on a Cure. I'm going to then go down to the bottom of the page where we'll find the team names, and I can click on last name, which will go ahead and alphabetize the team by last name. So let's go back down to the bottom. And there is Kristen Becker. And we said she brought in $50. And she brought it in for Luminaria. So let me go to the drop down, and I'm going to go to Luminaria. And we have Luminaria 1. So we're going to save and close. And remember that we need to go over to the comments column once we do that. The revenue location, she gave this on bank night. We're going to slide over to our comments column. And this particular luminaria was given in honor of her good friend Susie Jones. So I'm going to go ahead and type in Susie Jones here. And then I'm going to save and close. Once I have all the information in, well, let's go back down here and make sure we have it. Yes, $50 Luminaria Bank Night. I can go down to the bottom of the page, click on Team Member Update, and that's going to save that Luminaria donation that's going to be credited to Kristen Becker. So we've done Aaron, we've done Kristen. We have one more donation we're going to enter for an individual on Banking for a Cure, and that's Jill Lawler, who brought in a $500 sponsorship from Austin's on the day of the event. So she brought a sponsorship from Austin, day of the event. Let's go ahead and take a look how we would connect those two. All right, so let's enter that sponsorship donation. So our individual is on Banking on a Cure. And we're going to come down and we're going to find Jill Lawler. And it was $500. And it was for sponsorship, so let's drop down here. And remember, I already mentioned that I'd already gone in and entered Austin in as a sponsor. So we're going to click on this star and we're going to choose from the drop down, and there's Austin Bradley. So we're going to save and close, and that's going to link that $500 with the sponsorship money on the sponsorship page, which has already been entered. This was day of event. Okay, once I have all that information in, I can go ahead and click Team Member Update, and it's going to save that, and it's going to credit that $500 sponsorship to her, and it's also going to make that notation on Austin's sponsorship page. We've added revenue for teams, we've added revenue for individuals, and now we're going to look at general donations, donations that are credited to the event. And as we had for entering revenue for teams and entering revenue for individuals, if you go to your user's guide, you're going to find a section on adding revenue to the event, and you'll see that that is done under Event Summary. So again, this will serve as a great review for you after we have gone over it in today's session. Once again, we're going to go into EMT, and we're going to take a look at how dollars are credited to the event. And for our first example, we're going to look at Mary Jones, who donates $50 for Luminaria on the day of the event. When she comes up to make that donation at the Luminaria table, she's asked, do you want to credit this to anybody here or to a team here? And she says, no, not really. I just want to make a donation for Luminaria in honor of my husband, Bob. So let's see how we would go ahead and put that in EMT. As I mentioned when we were taking a look at the user's guide, when we enter revenue for that's going to get credited to the event, not to a team, not to an individual, we're going to go in the event summary screen. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And remember, we're putting in the donation for Mary Jones, who wants to contribute $50. She's there day of event. She's at the Luminaria table. And they've asked her, do you want to credit this to a team or individual? And she has said no. So where do we put that in? Well, we're going to look here, and you'll see that we have event level. This is where we're going to add event level revenue. So we're going to come over to the amount, and we're going to put in the $50 for Mary. The revenue source is going to be Luminaria. And we have, remember, the quantity is going to come up, so we're going to say 1. We're going to save and close that. Where is the location? Well, this was day of event. And we're going to go ahead and update this information. Once we do that, it's going to save that to the general event revenue. It's not going to get credited to any team or any individual. We've added Mary Jones donation of $50 for Luminaria on day of event. And your event was lucky enough to have a Bark for Life, which raised $7,500 for the event. And all this money is going to flow directly to the event. Again, it's not going to be credited to a team or to an individual. So let's go ahead and see how we would do that in EMT. As you recall from our last example of Mary Jones, we went to the event summary screen to add event revenue, where it's not credited to a team or an individual. So again, remember we have $7,500. So we're going to come over here to event level, add event level estimated revenue, $7,500. The revenue source, Bark for Life. So I'm going to choose Bark for Life. Revenue location, this actually came in at a team captain meeting. So I'm going to select that, and then I'm going to go ahead and update. So once again, we've added $7,500 of revenue to the event, not credited to a team, not credited to an individual. So we're going to take a look at one last donation that's going to get credited to the event. Susie Sunshine donates $100 the day of the event. She just comes to and says, I just want to make a general donation. No, I don't want Luminaria. I just really care about Relay for Life and I want to donate this $100. How are we going to go ahead and put that in EMT? As in our previous two examples, when we're adding revenue to the general event, remember we are on the event summary screen. Here we are again, event level. So we're going to add the $100 that's being given. The revenue source is just going to be general because she's just giving a general donation to the event. So I'm going to choose general, revenue location, day of event, and then I'm going to go ahead and update. So that's how simple it is to add a donation that's just being given to the general event. And remember, all donations that go to the event without being credited to a team or an individual are going to go under the event summary. So if I go back to forms, it's event summary. We've talked so far a lot about putting revenue in EMT. How do we get information back out of EMT? We're going to take a look at some reports and how we can get that back out. The first way we're going to look at getting information out of EMT is through team reports. Let's go take a look at a few of these.